When it comes to controlling the visibility and graphic display of entire categories of elements, you will be working in the Visibility Graphic Overrides dialog. When you are in a model view, you can look in the Properties palette and find the Visibility Graphics Overrides parameter. You can click the Edit button to open the Visibility Graphic Overrides dialog for the view. Be aware that overrides refers to the fact that you are overriding something. And when it comes to the graphic display of elements, you are overriding the object styles. The object styles control the graphic display of categories of elements for the entire project. And then anything you do in the Visibility Graphic Overrides dialog, which is specific to each model view, overrides the object styles. Let's take a quick look at what's available here. As you scroll through the list on the Model Categories tab, you can see all of the model categories. And there's a checkbox next to each one, and that will turn off the category of elements. So for example, just to see something that's very obvious here, if we turn off the walls category and click OK, now you can see all of the walls in the view are no longer visible. But if I open the default 3D view, the walls are still visible in this view. Because once again, the Visibility Graphic Overrides dialog is specific to the model view that you are working in. I'll turn walls back on. And in addition to controlling the visibility, you can control the graphic display of elements. So for walls, you would be adjusting the cut lines or patterns. For example, if I click Override, it opens up the Line Graphics dialog, and I can change the color of all the walls to green, and I'll click OK to close each dialog. And now the walls are once again visible, and now they are green. And if I go to the default 3D view, they still have the appearance that's specified in the Object Styles dialog. You can also use the keyboard shortcut VV or VG. Those are the default keyboard shortcuts to open the Visibility Graphic Overrides dialog. And I will change the walls. I'll take away that override. So just in summary, on the Model Categories tab, you can control the visibility as well as the graphic display of model elements based on the entire category. If we go to the Annotation Categories tab, then we can control the annotation elements. For example, I will find the Reference Planes category and turn that off, and then click OK. And now we can see those dashed green lines are no longer visible because we turned off the Reference Planes category. I'll open up the Visibility Graphic Overrides dialog one more time. And as we go through these other tabs, you can see we can control the analytical model categories, any imported categories. If there was a linked CAD file or an imported CAD file, you would see the layers here on this tab, and then any filters that have been added would appear here as well. And additionally, if you have linked models, you would have an additional tab. If work sets or design options were enabled in the project, you would have a tab for those as well. So be aware that additional tabs could be added. I'll click OK to close this dialog. And then now let's take a look at how to control the visibility and graphic display of individual elements. So let's say we only want to control one or two elements, or however many. I'm going to zoom in here to the elevator, and I'll select the elevator door. And it belongs to the doors category, but let's say I just want to work with this specific door and not the entire category. If you look on the Contextual Ribbon tab in the View panel, there's a few options here. So the light bulb button, if you expand that, you can see visibility controls for this element. I can hide the element, but this tool is not recommended for use because If you are working on a project with multiple users, it can be difficult for them to know which elements have been hidden. But nonetheless, hide elements will hide the individual element. If you select hide category, then you will actually turn off the entire category, which in this case is doors. And that's the same as turning it off in the Visibility Graphic Overrides dialog on the Model Categories tab. So I'll turn that back on. And then lastly, there's Hide by Filter if you wanted to create a filter. Additionally, there's a paintbrush button here. And when I expand that button, you can see Override by Element, Override by Category, and Override by Filter. And this time, instead of adjusting the visibility, you're going to be adjusting the graphic display. So if we want to control just this single door, I can click Override by Element, and that opens the View Specific Element Graphics dialog. And any changes you make here only affect this specific door. So that could be adjusting the cut lines, the cut patterns, so on and so forth. Just to see, I will change this door to magenta. And now you can see that specific door is magenta, where all the other doors remain the same with no override. So just in summary, the Visibility Graphic Overrides dialog will allow you to control the visibility and graphic display of entire categories for the specific model view that is active. And anything you want to do on an element by element basis, you can use the tools on the contextual ribbon tab.